for y'all. No, they're not rhetorical. I want you to answer them. All right, what does it mean to set an example for someone or to lead by example? You speak out or raise your hand, either one. Yes.
To do the right thing.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Lead by example. Other people. Other people like look up to you and like kind of like a role model kind of thing.
All right. What are some qualities in people that you tend to look up to? What do you admire about people that you look up to?
Leadership.
Leadership.
Good attitude.
Sacrifice. Anything else? Yes.
The ability to keep calm.
Very, very good. It's not get all crazy in a tough situation. Very nice. All right. Well, so these are some of the things that you guys look up to. Some other things that most people tend to look up to in a role model or just someone they admire is like for athletes, anybody who's really good at a certain sport, like famous, not just famous players, but people on their specific team or anything like that. It's like I know, like when I was a freshman, I idolized our seniors. Like they were our fearless leaders. They were awesome, and I couldn't wait till I was all grown up and like them. Right? Turns out I'm still a kid. So, all right. So, like one thing, if you aspire to be like someone on your team, you strive to beat them. They push you to be a better player, and if you admire someone just because of like their leadership or their good attitude or their ability to keep calm, they push you to be a better person. They push you to be better at these qualities, to grow these qualities in yourself. So, what about people looking up to you? They're there, trust me. Like you may not see them, you may not think that you have people watching you all the time, but there's always someone that you are in some way impacting. It's like if you play sports, like Matthew plays football and rugby, I'm sure there are freshmen or sophomores that look up to him. And even some seniors, we learn just as much from our younger players as they do from us. Like we look at them and we see, wow, they're giving everything because most of them just want to please the seniors. I know some of the freshmen on my volleyball team, they would give anything to get a clap or a way to go out of one of our mouths, one of the seniors' mouths. Like I've seen, like when I play volleyball, I've seen them diving all over the floor and come away with bruises and one with a bloody nose because a girl hit her in the face and then a concussion. But she was like, I'm ready to go back in. Coach put me back in. We were so proud of her after that. So when you impact people like this, like on the volleyball court, the way I'm leading the group, I'm a senior, so I carry some weight with the team. I try to influence the younger players through my attitude, through my actions, always striving to do better and be better, not ignoring my coach when she tells me what to do. Like, I've been here 4 years, I know what I'm doing by now. I can always learn in some way. Everyone can always learn and improve, no matter how good they are at something. So, one thing that I kind of struggle with sometimes is, like, when I get really down and whatnot, my attitude isn't always the best, and then I'm not setting a good example for my younger players. Like, a couple of weeks ago, 3 or so weeks ago, we were playing ECS, and I was in for about 45 seconds of the very first set. And within that short time, I jumped up to block a ball, and I came down on a fellow teammate's foot. And I rolled my ankle very badly, and I tore 3 ligaments almost all the way through. I was in a boot for 2 weeks, and Monday was my first game back. I cannot express to you how difficult it was to sit on a bench for every single game, be at every single practice, and keep a smile on my face. So for those of you who don't necessarily play sports, imagine something you are so passionate about, something you love so much. It can be anything. Imagine that being taken away from you and say, you can't do this. And it's even worse for a senior because this is your last chance to do this. Last night was our senior night. It was our last home game. And I will never get another chance to play in my home gym. That was my last night. It still hasn't fully sunk in, but that's the truth. And so for me, having to sit the bench and sometimes even work the score table and not being able to participate in any way in the game was extremely difficult because volleyball is something that I have fallen in love with, something I love so much, something I'm so passionate about. Just imagine what it feels like to not be told you're not able to do this. And when we first saw the trainer that works for my school, she said, yeah, you're gonna need surgery. You're out for the rest of the season. Congratulations. And so that was rough. So we waited a weekend and went back to see her. She said, maybe if it's a little better by Monday, we'll do some physical therapy. It was no better. So she said, wear a boot. I'm referring you to a doctor. So when we went to see this doctor, he said, yeah, it's a pretty bad sprain, but with a week or so of physical therapy, you should be fine as long as you're comfortable playing. That was a miracle for me to hear. And I was so happy about that. So when I finally did all the physical therapy, no matter how bad it really hurt my ankle, which is still pretty sore, I was so ready to be back in and play, and I felt so good when I finally got back on the court, because I felt like all the leadership that I had once held, all the respect that I'd had for my teammates was just gone. My mom and I were talking one night about a week into me being in the boot, and I was so angry, and I was yelling, and I was mad, and I was crying because I was so mad. I don't cry when I'm sad, I cry when I get angry. Like, to a certain point, that's when I cry. So I was just yelling at my mom just because of everything. I was so mad about all this stuff because I had to sit the bench, and I couldn't play, and it was my senior year. And I started to become kind of apathetic, like I didn't care. I didn't feel like part of the team anymore. I will never forget something she told me time and time again, but now it actually applied to me. She said, no matter what, you are still a leader. They are still looking up to you. And last night, because it was senior night, all the girls wrote us letters. And I went home, and I read mine because I knew I was going to cry because it was sad and so sweet and everything. But one of my favorite freshmen on the team, I try not to play favorites, but she is just the sweetest person I've ever met. So cute and adorable. She wrote me a letter, and she said something like, I didn't think anybody really noticed, but she said, even though you were injured and the whole time you sat the bench for about 8 games, you were still the loudest person, and you were the most encouraging person on the team. And she said, I wanted to work so hard so I could earn that good job at a girl out of you. And that just made me so happy because I was trying. My mom told me, even though you sit the bench, even though you're not playing, you are still a leader. People are still looking at you. People are still watching to see what kind of attitude you have. So just like y'all said, a good attitude is definitely something to aspire to have and to look up to people for. So, like I said, when I was a freshman, we idolized our seniors. Like when I was a freshman or when I was in 7th and 8th grade in youth, I looked at a senior and they looked like adults to me because they looked older, they acted older, they told us they were older. So we were junior hires or freshmen to them. And so it's like they were our fearless leaders and whatnot. And that's one reason that for upperclassmen specifically, it is so very important for you to set a good example for your underclassmen. And for the underclassmen, we watch you more than you think. It's like at any kind of sports practice or just around school, we do look and see, oh look, what is the next year's seniors going to look like, the next year's juniors, sophomores, freshmen, all of that. We're wondering, when we leave this school, what are we leaving behind? Like, what is it going to look like in the next couple of years or something like that? So one thing that most underclassmen don't really realize is that we're still children. It's like, I'm 17, I'm not even of legal age yet, I'm not 18, so I am still a minor. And for even those that are 18, we're still kids. It's like, when you get to this point, you don't feel like an adult yet. You still feel like someone's child. You're still living at home. Your parents are still supporting you. You don't feel like an adult. You feel like a child. You feel like a freshman all over again because you don't really want to leave home yet. You're not used to being out on your own. So one thing that younger kids don't realize is that we still stumble and fall and whatnot. We still mess up because we are still children. So that's another reason it is so very important, so that when these underclassmen come up to where we are, they realize that's what they felt like. That's what they were trying to tell us. So that way we can set the good example so that when they get to where we are and realize, wait, I'm not an adult yet. I'm not grown up. They can still aspire to be like that because we did. That's why it's so important to set this good example. So usually when someone is trying to set a good example and they're trying too hard, it's very easy to tell. They put on this holier than thou or I'm older, you listen to me, I'm in charge attitude. That's really, really not a good way to do it. And so one thing that's very, very hard to come across is to be humble. It's very hard to get your point across that you are still messing up. Like, no matter how old you get, you're going to mess up in life. It's going to happen, but you just got to move on and say, I'm sorry, I'll do better, and move on. So there's one verse targeting specifically our age group, younger people. It's 1 Timothy 4:11-13. Command and teach these things. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Until I come, devote yourselves to the public reading of Scripture, to preaching, and to teaching. So that verse right there is one reason that I'm sitting before you right now. Because people, like I said, I'm still a kid. I'm still young. But it doesn't matter. We are still setting examples for everyone who watches us. You never know who is going to watch you and who is going to learn something from you. Sorry. So it is so very, very important to be mindful of all of that. And so, like I said, one thing that is very hard to get across is being humble and saying, I'm still messing up. And so I found this poem not too long ago, something that really kind of stood out to me. It's like, I don't know why at first, because I wasn't looking for it. It just happened to pop up. I think I was on Pinterest, so of course it's odd. But, so like I said, whenever you're setting an example, never ever be off-putting, saying this is how you do something. Not just stating a fact, but explain to people why, and explain to people I've messed up too. I've messed up. So this poem, to me, states what it means to set an example, how you should set an example, and how to come across humble. It's called When I Say I Am a Christian. When I say I am a Christian, I'm not shouting I've been saved. I'm whispering I get lost at times. That's why I chose this way. When I say I am a Christian, I don't speak with human pride. I'm confessing that I stumble, needing God to be my guide. When I say I am a Christian, I'm not trying to be strong. I'm professing that I'm weak and pray for strength to carry on. When I say I am a Christian, I'm not bragging of success. I'm admitting that I failed and can never pay that debt. When I say I am a Christian, I don't think I know it all. I submit to my confusion, asking humbly to be taught. When I say I am a Christian, I'm not claiming to be perfect. My flaws are all too visible, but God believes I am worth it. When I say I am a Christian, I still feel the sting of pain. I have my share of heartache, that's why I seek God's name. When I say I am a Christian, I do not wish to judge. I have no authority, I only know I am loved. That is something that really, really spoke out to me. Like when I was thinking about what to write for this and whatnot, I was thinking, you know what? It was kind of hard when I was younger to see the kind of example people were setting for me. Once I finally realized that's what they're trying to do, I just thought, you know what? I need to do that too. And this is a perfect way to do that, to admit that you are humble, that you mess up. And that is why we as Christians strive to be better. We're still going to mess up, but that is why we believe in forgiveness and God's love and everything. So one last verse before I end is something, like I said, we're going to mess up and everything. But this verse, 2 Timothy 2:15, says, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, who correctly handles the word of truth. This says that no matter what you do, even though you know you were going to mess up sometimes, still strive, still try, never give up. Always try to set a good example for the younger people. Always try to be the example that other people are going to need, because once these people grow up and become the leaders, they're going to set examples for people under them, and so on and so on, and it's never ending. It's always going to be that way, and no matter how old you get, you're always going to look up to someone is always going to look up to you. So always be mindful of what side of you they're seeing.